So, welcome everyone to another edition of the Empower and Elevate Mentorship and Sponsorship Redefine podcast. This is the grand finale of season 2 interview with leaders, and I'm so excited to have Yvonne Toma on the panel. So, Yvonne is a senior business leader with 30 plus years experience in relationship management, marketing, and program delivery in Canada and in the United States. Yvonne has led large, complex, transformational programs and is impassioned around positively impacting the employee experience. Yvonne is a certified business and life coach and a certified practitioner of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and has applied this training to develop and facilitate workshops that help people tap into their strengths and develop their personal leadership. Yvonne is a mentor in BMO, and she serves as a mentor volunteer coach for Up with Women. And I'm proud to say that Yvonne is also my mentor. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for joining us today. And it's a real pleasure to have you on board. You've been my greatest cheerleader, and I'm truly honored to feature your voice this season as we explore stories of leadership, mentorship, and growth.
Thank you for having me here, Joanna. It's such an honor, and I'm really excited to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm just going to say just a few quick notes before we dive in. It's going to be a very relaxed conversational recording, so please feel free to be yourself. We're here to inspire, not to be perfect. I keep saying that to everyone. The goal is to share real stories that help others navigate their own journeys. So I'll guide you through all the conversation with questions that I've prepared. But if there's anything else that you'd like to expand on or add along the way, please feel free to do so. Are you ready to get started?
I am. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have 5 different segments that these questions are wrapped around. The very first segment is redefining success, which means beyond money and titles. And the very first question is, what's a metric of success you care about that will surprise people? Is it joy? Is it flexibility? Or is it impact?
Well, I think it aligns to joy. I guess for me, my definition of success is how I interact with people. My ultimate goal is to have people leave a conversation feeling really good. And that, even though it could be a difficult conversation, they may not get what they want, I at least want them to walk away feeling respected and that they understand why the decision was made. And that comes from, I mean, it's hard to measure, right? Unless you you need to pay attention emotionally, watch people. And I always feel really horrible if I've had an encounter where I haven't felt that the person left with respect, feeling respected. And I know that in my gut when it's not right. But I remember it was triggered early on in my career by my manager. And she said to me, she was giving me feedback, and it was a really stressful time because I was doing major conversion. I had a team of 26 people. I mean, it was just very stressful for me. And as you know, people react the way that they react, especially during stress, right? They're not always at their best. And I remember her saying to me, you don't know this, but your mood, you can either bring up a room or take it down just in one sentence. And that was really shocking to me to know that I had that effect on people. And then I remember going into a meeting just after she had given me this feedback, and it was with a vendor. You know, they had said for on and on about how they wanted to do stuff, they couldn't do it. There was always a lot of disappointment. And they came to the table. It was a whole table. I came in, I was sitting at the head of the table. There must have been probably 15 people in that room. And the vendor, who happened to be sitting at the opposite end of the table to me, told us once again that they couldn't meet our needs. And there was this, I noticed in that moment, there was this collective intake of breath from everyone in the room as they turned toward me. And that's when I realized what she was saying, that in that moment, I had the choice to either rip them apart or deal with it. And so I took a breath and I said, okay, where do we go from here? And it was like the whole room let their breath out. And it
Oh
was a
my.
big relief. And it was a real positive experience. So ever since that point, I really try to see how I am going into a meeting. How's the conversation going to be? Is it not going to be fun? And to really try and make sure that people leave feeling honored, respected, and valued.
Wow. Fantastic. That's really good because in now my conversations with you, I could feel, that you have my best interest at heart, and I know that you feel the same about all other people as well. So, if I had to add something to what you just said, I would say for me, I care about impact and
Mhm.
also contributing, to the success of others through this medium mentorship, knowledge transfer, and everything. So I really, what you said, really do resonate with me, and I'm so thankful that you're able to share that story with me. Moving on to the second one, which is under the mentorship and the sponsorship segment. The question is, so sponsorship is riskier than mentorship. We know that it's all about advocacy. It stakes your reputation. So how do you decide who to sponsor?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'll tell you, that decision has changed for me over the years as I've put people forward as a connection, just thinking, hey, it's great. I'm a real connector, and like, oh, you should be with so and so. Hey, you should network with so and so. Not realizing that when you put somebody forward, this is early in my career, you're actually putting yourself forward as well. And
Hmm.
I learned that when I had somebody who was a friend. I didn't really know him that well, but I did know him, and he was asking about a particular role that was in the company, and did I know anything about it? And I didn't know, but I knew the person into whom it reported. And so I reached out to that person and said, hey, I got a friend of mine who's interested in the role. Well, fast forward, he was interested. He had a great interview, really excited about it, gets in the role, and he had to be let go within his 90-day window because he just turned out to be he just wasn't interested. He was
Hmm.
more interested in other things. He saw this as a stepping point into into a big organization where he could, move forward fast. And the person who hired him had come back to me and said, hey, this guy isn't really good. So I don't know why you refer him. And I that was a bit of a kind of an aha moment for me to say, yeah, I better start thinking about, it's one thing to connect people to network, but it's another thing to put someone forward as, hey, I stand behind this person and I would hire him or her or them, regardless of the situation. So it really has changed. And I base my decision on what's the work ethic like. You've had enough
Mhm.
conversations where you can kind of summarize somebody and you get a feel, your gut gives you a feel for how this person is. And so I trust my instinct very well. And I also know that, there are two or three specific questions that you can ask that will ultimately get you to where you want to go. And it's rare that I refer somebody who I don't know very well. But if I do, it's because I've had enough of an encounter and I have a positive view or a gut feel that this person's going to be good. And I also ask myself the question, would I actually hire them?
Hmm.
And if the answer is no, I'm not going to put them forward for sponsorship, right?
Wow.
I'm going to say to somebody, not sure if this is a fit. Why don't you evaluate for yourself? But here's what I know about this person. So
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. I believe that sponsorship is about trust. Before we
Yes.
bring anyone or present anyone to the room where they've not been in, we have to be sure of them. And so I think I actually think I feel that about the withdrawal of most people in sponsoring others.
Yeah.
You and to your point, the best way to navigate around it is what you just said, the last comment that you made, that if the person wants to hire them, please feel free, but make your own judgment about their skills, about their team spirit, or if they will be the perfect fit in your organization.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're learning every day. and it's
Exactly.
and it's not like don't want to sponsor, but I think it's the fear of being a disappointment, right? If you as a leader and trust someone, that person's work ethic, that they deliver results, that they're outstanding, that they can make a change in wherever place that they find themselves, you will be able to stand behind that person.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And And if you're willing to take a risk, there are
Mhm.
some people that I have come across where I think, holy moly, this person, they're going to get in there, they're going to figure out what's going to get done. It's going to take them maybe 3 months, 6 months to get in and really know it, and then they're going to kick butt and they're really going to start to contribute. And you
Exactly.
just know it, right? I mean, you know how it is with
Yeah.
people where you get that vibe from them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. There are lots of go-getters. They in their vocabulary, there's something called yes, not no. I can do it. I will step up to
yeah.
and then they will look. They'll do their research, and they'll come back. They want to shine and make whoever sponsored them into that role proud. So there are
Yeah.
lots of people there. You're not even waiting for the 6 months mark to come for someone to say to you, hey, did you, are you an are you a top performer, or you mid, or you did not even perform at all? I give you an example. When I first joined the organization, and I started, and so I was waiting for that 6 months, right? So 6 months came. I remember my boss at that time is since retired. So I set up a one-on-one with him, and I said, "Oh, I wanted to talk to you because it's 6 months back." He said, "6 months for what?" I said, "Well, the evaluation, performance evaluation. I need to know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm going overboard." And he looked at me. Eric said, "Joanna, have let you go from the second day or the third day if you are not pulling your weight." He said, "I didn't even remember the 6 months mark because you're
Mm.
doing extremely well." And that really touched me, because for he actually did not remember. That
Oh,
was that was keeping tab, to say, "Oh, 6 months is coming," and when 6 months comes. So I think a lot of people feel that way, and earlier on, if things are not going to work out well, it's best for whoever hired them, to speak up.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's also
yeah,
good. It's also important they speak up and say they're doing a good job. Can I
exactly.
can I just add another point around sponsorship?
Sure.
Because I think it's important to sponsor when you're in when you're working with someone as well. So it's putting them forward as a possible candidate, but it's also once somebody's in the role, if you know, for example, that you put somebody in, they're underpaid, they're way below the band. Sponsorship and advocacy, I interchanged the term here, is about making sure that person is brought up and paid fairly and equitably for the role. And I've done
Absolutely.
that with probably, I don't know, 6 people on
Mm,
my team where I know they've come in way underpaid and really below the band line, and through advocacy, and that's given the data to your leader to say these are the reasons why, and including why she's below or he's below the band level. and what the bump should be, and knowing that that's an easier conversation, easier thing to do when it's an out of pattern adjustment as opposed to an annual review. So I think that's also part of sponsorship and advocacy for someone in the role.
Thank you very much. And that's a very impressive thing to do. Absolutely. So moving on to the third one, which for me, I think about this all the time, and you come to my mind because of all the conversations that we've had around this. The third segment is overcoming fear and imposter syndrome. So the question is, what's a career risk that you took that felt terrifying in the moment, but now you're so grateful for it?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I graduated from university, I packed up and moved to Los Angeles. I left my parents, my family, everybody behind me. My brother was there. He left after 6 months. And so I was literally on my own in Los Angeles working in a credit department. And that was terrifying to begin with. But in that, it was Macy's department store basically, and I was a promotions manager. So I put together employee incentive programs to incent customers to drive more credit cards, right? Get them in debt, make more money, all that stuff. And then Macy's took over Bullock's, and I was given an incentive program, like an incentive offer to stick around during the conversion. They wanted people to not leave. And then I ended up talking to the guy at GE, told him where I wanted to go. And within a month, I had received an offer and moved from Los Angeles to Vancouver. It happened so fast that I couldn't get terrified, but every once in a while the reality would hit, like, what have I done? Because I had never, like, I graduated from university. I didn't have credit history in Canada. I didn't have anybody. I didn't know anybody in Vancouver. And there I was moving to Vancouver. And my head office was in Edmonton. So I didn't even have like people to support me from a head office perspective. So I was literally based with the client. And what was terrifying for me was I had to learn how to communicate with executives. There was a whole bunch of new things that I learned that ended up being really awesome for my career development. And it was early in my career. So relationship management and the importance of being the go-between between your client and the company that you work for. I learned that really, really well to advocate for my client. And I also learned about being independent and taking, budgeting and all of that stuff that I didn't know about in my previous role, or it was expanded bigger, and forecasting and all of that. So it was terrifying because it was so much change all at one time, like packing up and moving from one country to another, which was a home country, but it was still brand new experience for me. And I traveled so much when I was there, and it was terrifying for probably 6 months. And talk about imposter syndrome. I kept thinking, why I can't do this job. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was the same thing I had when I left. It was for GE that I ended up working for. And when I left GE to go to CIBC, I remember talking to a guy who worked at CIBC and saying, can I do this role? What do you think? I know I know you can. Like, talk about imposter syndrome. So every single time I had moved or changed companies, it was, oof, do you think I can do this? And imposter syndrome all the time. Same thing when I take on a new role. So I think that was so good for me because it just built my confidence, built my independence, gave me all kinds of skills to learn. But it terrified the heck out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, wow. And you're doing excellently well where you currently are. You wouldn't even think that you had that kind of, terrifying experience, but well contained, well controlled, and you excel through it all. If I want to look into, I came from a background of accounting and finance. Actually, was what I studied in college, and moving into a different country. I
Mm.
shifted, it was during the IT boom. So I just went in, to study information technology. And then at that time, it felt like it was a significant leap for me. But where am I going to go with it? I didn't know. I just wanted to, to belong, to do something. And, I did not have a traditional tech, like I didn't study
Yeah.
technology, full technology in school. I can only recall taking one programming course that was introduced in my third year, and it didn't really last that long. So it was intimidating for me at that time. But I was so drawn to problem solving, innovation, different things, even though we're using cards at that time to program. But so I followed the instinct, and here I am today, still enjoying technology.
And kicking butt, by the way. So yeah, like definitely a good move for you. And the benefit of taking those chances. I call them leap of faith. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know where I'm gonna go, how I'm gonna land, how long it's gonna take for me to get there. I just know I put my faith in God, because I believe in God, and I know when I jump off that cliff, I'm gonna land safely. And I've done a number of those. And the benefit of doing that, so the benefit of you shifting careers, is that that's a learned experience going forward.
Exactly.
And heck, I did this before. I'm going to be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yvonne. The fourth segment is on building inclusive leadership. That's the segment. And the question in that segment is, what's a policy or norm you have challenged in your industry that others accept as just how it is?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a norm or a policy, but I'll tell you what drives me crazy about in our world, which is financial services. Often decisions and transformations are based on a benefit that is around financial. There's
Mhm.
always financial key performance indicators, what makes it successful. And yeah, by the way, making sure the employees are taken care of, all that good stuff is important. But where I think organizations fall from a norm perspective, even though they talk about how important the employees are, how important employee adoption is if it's new technology, how important people feel before and after the transformation, even though there's lots of talk around that.
Mhm.
Employee change management is it's not a discipline or an event that is really well supported in organizations. And I hear it all the time, and I see it all the time, where organizations are making a big change, and they often they'll say, well, you know what, it's kind of somebody's job, and they either have to
Mhm.
get it or they don't get it, right? Like, you're either on the bus or get out of the way, right? One or the other, but
Right.
we're doing this change. And that is motivation for one segment of people. But there are other segments that require different motivation, and you got to find that, and you got to appeal to that. And throughout all of it, you got to communicate. You've got to give people the opportunity to participate. All of that, and have a sponsor at an executive level who's going to stand behind it and support it and drive it. And I always find, and it drives me crazy. So, the norm is that change management is important, but
Mhm.
reality is it's not. And
Right.
so I've fallen into employee transformation because it's a passion of mine to make sure the employee experience is positive in all my life. In all my jobs, I've been the person who's been saying, well, what about it from the employee experience?
Mm.
How are you going to, what if you get this question? How are we going to handle this kind of event from the employees? Always bringing forward the employee experience to the point where I can be a real pain in the bum, and people stop including me in these conversations because they just don't want to address it. And I think it's a sad state of affairs that some organizations don't value that. But
Yeah.
yeah, and to me, that's a challenge, but I still feel like I'm going to be the one asking the questions around the table and to our leaders that may be tough. What are we doing for the employee around this? Yeah.
Yeah, employee experience and engagement is really key in an organization to be successful. And for me, also, when I look at the inclusive leadership, one norm that I've gently but consistently challenged is the belief that, success, for example, in technology, is purely about technical output. It's not. And as a person, a woman of color, and someone who did not follow a conventional technology training or path, I've seen firsthand whereby leadership, mentorship, or even inclusive practices are undervalued. We see
Mm.
that all the time. We worked in I'll say shift to shift that narrative by mentoring others, challenging others, contributing others, and even championing diverse voices, right? Advocating for career growth. And I see that within technology, and people trying to do as much as getting people recognized, and also recognizing that there's something called emotional intelligence collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, cultural competencies are not just, it's not just about codes or about credentials that you have. It's, about how you see people, how we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion all the time. Are we really walking that talk, fully?
In the year 2025, why are we
Yeah,
even still having these conversations?
right.
But I hear you, because if you don't have somebody around the table thinking about that, asking those questions, other people aren't, it's not a natural experience or a natural line of thinking for people.
That's
So
right.
you have to be able to have a voice around the table that is inclusive, that looks
Hmm.
at what you want to do from a broader perspective.
Right, right. You're right. You're right. Thank
Yeah.
you for that response. Oh my gosh, there's so much wealth of information that, we all need to be where we want to be and to be who we are as well. Which takes me to the last segment of the future of work and legacy. So, how do you define legacy? Is it projects? Is it people? Or is it something else entirely?
Yeah, so I think your legacy, my legacy, is measured by the imprint I leave on the heart.
Hmm.
So if people talk about me and remember me fondly and in a way that, you know, that I've added value to their life. I've made them feel respected. I've honored their diversity. I've honored their in a conversation. I've stood up for them. Any of that, to me, I've had it in my life where I've had it just makes me remember that person in a way that is very different from remembering a certain situation. So remembering a person is different from remembering a situation. And I
Right.
think that's the legacy. I mean, I don't know if that really answers your question, but
It does. It does. I mean, how you see it, fact that you make, what you leave behind, really matters. You've invested, and I can tell. Outside of the conversations that we've had, I can tell that you like to invest in the lives of people. So
mhm,
you leave a mark that cannot be erased. Anywhere you go, wherever you find yourself, your legacy lives after you. That is who
yeah.
I've seen in you. you know.
And I
Yeah.
don't have children, right? So I was never married. I don't have children, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And for me, when they and I'm kind of the cool aunt, right? I lived in LA. I have a different fashion sense. I'm just different from their mom and dad, right? And my siblings are all a lot older than I am, so they gravitate to me. And my legacy is, my nephew picking up the phone because he has an issue that he wants to talk through, and I'm the person he talks through. Or my niece saying to me, when I was 5 years old, you said this to me, Aunt Yvonne, and I live it. I hear your voice all the time. I start to worry, or something like that. To me, that's a legacy because I've left an imprint on their heart that will
Hmm.
last forever. And that's what I think is really important. Not that, you know, I took them to a Boys to Men concert or something silly like that. It's more, what did we get out of that experience and how did it affect them?
Yeah, and that is so true. That is so true. I see legacy also as, it's a quiet impact. That's what you just said in a nutshell. The quiet impact that leaves on to people,
Mhm.
family, friends, co-workers, it doesn't matter who, but it's that impact in their lives that leaves through them. And it's not just about the systems that, in my case, that I've built over the years and when I was starting up my career, or even the roles that I've held, or it's about the individuals that I've mentored, the voices that, I've encouraged, and even conversations that I've heard. I value so much when we meet every month. I value that. I value your comments. I value, your encouragement. It really matters a lot to me because I know that in receiving that, I'm able to give back to others as well. I'm not holding back, from doing that. And if someone feels more empowered to grow, like I know you even feel more empowered to grow. I feel more empowered to grow. That's how we give and take from each other, right? To lead and to reach the brink of something that maybe I've shared or you've shared with me or you've modeled to other people. That's the kind of legacy I hope to leave behind. And that's the legacy that you're already leaving or depositing in me. So it's not only the nephews that are benefiting from your words of encouragement. I am also benefiting from that. And I
Well,
know
thank
that,
you.
yeah, a lot of people around me too benefit from this podcast, and they do say to me, Joanna, oh, you said it right out of the bat. That's exactly what I needed. And that's the way it should be. So,
Yeah. And so about this podcast, can I ask you a question?
yeah, please.
Because, as part of a mentorship relationship, it's an understanding of goals. So what do you want to achieve out of the relationship? What do you want to achieve personally? What do you want to achieve from your career? And I'm curious to know, because I remember when you had said this was just a little seed in your brain, and then 3 weeks later we meet, and next thing you know, you've set yourself up for this podcast. It was so inspirational. So now that you're finishing up season 2, how has it been, like, reality versus what was in your mind?
Hmm. It's been it's been a journey that I'm so glad that I stepped into that type of a journey because I never even expected that it will be, this long. I was thinking maybe by season 1, episode 4, I would have grown tired. But like it's like an adrenaline, it keeps pumping up that, hear more information that I can share. I've always been
Mhm.
someone that loves to do, I thrive on knowledge sharing a lot. Might not even be work related. It might be something I stumbled, across, and I felt that, I really benefited from that. I share with other people. Now talking about carrying people along, guiding them, leading them in such a way that um not a one-way street. I'm also learning from them. because there's
Mhm.
so many things
Yes.
that I'm learning now that it's like I never even thought about them, right? And
Yes.
one lady was saying to me yesterday, she said, "Oh, Joanna, I found you." She said, "I found you on YouTube. I've been listening to," and she works in my office.
Oh.
Oh, her. And she said, "That's the reason why I reached out to you to work there." I'm
Mm.
like, "Are you
Nice.
serious?" So I mean, the with the knowledge that I'm able to give back, and also with the notion that I am encouraged to. When I told you about it, you were so excited for me. I'm saying to myself, if Yvonne is so excited for me, I should be excited for myself. And when
Yeah.
I should be excited for myself. And I am. And I'm so, so thankful that, that I'm able to. So it's not about, it's a seed that I'm sowing, and a
Mhm.
seed that I'm looking forward to. I don't know how many years of, growth and germination and things like that. But at the same time, I'm going places with this. And I'll tell you something, not off the record. Uh, I love to write. And I'll probably say growing up, I've had several manuscripts that I never published, never do anything. But recently, I finished a manuscript that I will probably be publishing late August or early September. So we'll
Wow.
talk more about that. So, like there's so many things that I want to give out that I feel that I've learned from a lot of people. I've had mentors in the past, sponsors in the past, but right now, whatever we learn, whatever I learned those times, I kept them to myself. But I felt, you feel so full, kind of like,
Yeah.
overwhelming, that you have a lot of knowledge to share. You have a lot of people to impact. So why don't you go ahead and do it? And me voicing out and you saying, Joanna, you can
Yeah.
open the door to a lot of things. So I'm looking to grow. Season 3, I already started, but I haven't published anything because I
Okay.
wanted to wrap this up. So I have a lot of things to share, and I hope that everyone that is listening, and listeners will be able to benefit and be able to walk away inspired and empowered, and be able
Yeah.
to make use of what they're receiving.
Well, what I think is great about you is that you're, to me, an example, because I often talk to people and about people who have may not, they're getting what they want out of their job,
Mhm.
but it's not quite fulfilling.